God has spoken in the past through a donkey. He's also spoke through great men like Paul and Peter. So my first goal tonight is to fall hopefully on the latter end of that spectrum. But regardless, I want us to hear from God. And my second goal, and probably just as important to some of us, is to finish talking before you finish listening tonight. And it also came from within. They had some resistance that actually took place within the children of Israel. Some of the people were looking at it and saying, I remember Solomon's temple, and this ain't going to be Solomon's temple. This is not going to be anything like that. So they had some mockery coming even from within the children of Israel, trying to discourage them in what God had called them to do. And so in the middle of all this turmoil and all this starting and stopping and the resistance from without and within, here comes this man of God walking down the street, so to speak, and he's telling them to turn to the stronghold, you prisoners of hope. And so when I'm looking at prisoners of hope, I work with words for a living at IBM, and so anytime I see words that kind of phrased a little different, it just kind of grabs my attention. I don't see prisoners of hope anywhere else in the Bible. So it's kind of a one-time thing he said to them. What is it about the human experience that God has placed within us this thing we call hope? And why do I think it's God-given? How can we watch someone in the most horrific situations? It's as if the gates of hell themselves have opened up on their doorstep. Everything they tried blows up in their face, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And if there is a light at the end of the tunnel, it's the oncoming train coming right at them. Right? And they stand there, and they look you in the eye, and they say, it's going to be all right. Yes, praise God. Animals don't do this. Angels don't need it. Satan and his followers don't have it. It's hope. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, He has set eternity in their heart, without which man cannot find out the work that God makes from the beginning and to the end. God Himself has placed something within us, within you, and within me, that captivates us, and I say makes us human. Eternity has been placed in our hearts. And why? So we can find out the work that God does. And so I believe that today, at least in part, this eternity that God's placed in our hearts is hope. So when the enemy comes in, and he will, and everything goes wrong, and it will, how do we keep on going? How do we keep doing the thing that God has called us to do? Hope. In the midst of a struggle, it is very likely that God is preparing to do a mightier work than we can imagine. Here we see that in the middle of trying to encourage people to finish building the temple and city, Zechariah receives a messianic prophecy.